Welcome to the Dan Casper Show podcast, your chance to catch the full show anytime, anywhere. If you missed it live on the radio, no worries. We've got you covered with all the sports talk, opinions, interviews, and conversations from the show. From the Packers to the Brewers to the biggest stories in sports and around Wisconsin, it's all right here. This is the Dan Casper Show podcast. All right, here we go. Second hour kicks off right now on this Thursday morning. If you're up and at it, good morning, and thanks for hanging out with us. First hour, we spent time talking some Brewers. We'll get back to some more Brewers talk, though, coming up a little bit later on as we get set for Game 3, the final game of the series with the Mets. The Miz on the mound looking for his 14th win of the season, and the Brewers looking to win this series before returning home for a series with the Texas Rangers. We've got Jake Boakes coming up next hour. So you can text those questions to us at 715-830-1912. If you got any questions for our DNR warden buddy, we'll do some 3 up and 3 down a little bit later on too. So play along with us. If you got 3 up and 3 down, send those on over. Let's kick it off the second hour with a little football. Packers having a joint practice yesterday with the Cardinals. While it sounds like nobody got hurt, in fact, you had people returning from injury. Green Bay started off hot, and they were playing really well. But punch me if you've heard this before. They finished really poorly, and maybe even some of the reporters there, they'll kind of say who won practice a lot is it the Packers offense, the Packers defense, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Packers started off really, really hot, but then you had people saying maybe a tie or maybe slightly towards the Cardinals that won the day at practice. So, haven't heard that before about not finishing strong. And, in fact, Jordan Love addressed it yesterday after practice, saying we started off the day really hot and we were making a lot of plays. And I think towards the end, we didn't finish as well. And I think that's obviously something we've harped on throughout the offseason, throughout training camp. So I think that was kind of the lowest point of the day was just the finish. And I think at training camp, the joint practices, I think it gets a little chippy. Things happen. Emotions start running a little higher. So we got to find a way to be able to just dial back in, focus back in, and be able to finish a practice. Talking about practice. But, there's that. So I'm sure a lot of people are going to run with that and look at it. And I don't know what is going on, but apparently Trey Smack struggled yesterday too. So it's like, dude, you're messing with my emotions now. Good thing you're a gamer so far, but it's, if this is your thing where you stick in practice, but you're good at games, okay. But you're going to raise the blood pressure in the state of Wisconsin, which probably isn't the greatest state to raise blood pressure with all the cheese and brats and beer and stuff. Yes. So let's be careful here, man. But hated seeing that, and now he's probably going to go 5 for 5 tomorrow night.
Probably. So. He went 2 for 5 yesterday.
Yep.
But it all kind of coincided with the Matthew Golden drop touchdown, and it stalled an offensive drive, and all of a sudden they went cold, and the defense couldn't get off the field because of no pass rush, and it just sounded like exactly what we thought could happen in worst-case scenario this year, and it all happened. Without Micah Parsons, they couldn't get a rush, and their DBs failed to be able to cover. Cisse had an interception, did get beat on a touchdown, but it was a really good catch. But it kind of reminds me of when Luke Fickell made the Badgers do 48 push-ups at the end of practice last year because they lost to Iowa by 48 points, and then they come out and got rolled again. All offseason, Matt LaFleur's talking about finishing strong in their first joint practice. Yeah, they don't finish strong. So it's an interesting thing, but you're right. It makes me a little nervous.
It does. It does. And I know it's just a practice, but if that's the theme all offseason, I mean, you even have your general manager at the end of last year in his season wrap-up, that was the theme that they had to figure out, and hopefully it's something that doesn't pop up in the regular season. But for crying out loud, if it's a thing that is consistent again this year, it's got to start with the coaching staff, right? I mean, where else does it start? Mm-hmm. And I hate saying that because I like LaFleur and I think he's a good coach, but at some point there's got to be that accountability, and there's got to be, okay, we got to look at this. What's the common thing here? Where does it all come back to? So hopefully it was just a one-off in practice. But something to definitely monitor.
And I hate comparing sports, but finishing strong starts with fundamentals and doing the little things right. And that's why Pat Murphy is so good with the Brewers, because he makes his guys do the little things. I don't know if LaFleur does that. And that's where you got to start, because when you finish, you look at the teams that finish strong, they got strong fundamentals and they do the little things right. And the Packers just don't do that right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm not saying they can't get there, because they can, but that's where they got to start.
Pat Murphy to the Packers.
I mean,
hey, when baseball season's over with, can Murph go over to Green Bay for a little bit and be kind of a new title of Minister of Culture or something like that, Director of Culture, just to make sure everybody's like on their butts and doing all the small things and the fundamentals?
Director of Finishing Strong.
Yeah, there you go, Director of Finishing Strong, or just something. Yeah, but that was the main thing that popped up yesterday at practice, because I was following along. I'm like, oh, okay, they're on. Or like,
yeah.
Cisse had probably was going to be a pick six, they said. Matthew Golden did have a great catch earlier on in the game. Jordan Love was hot. It's like, hey, now, here we go. We're rock. Defense was flying. I'm like, okay, Jonathan Gannon's getting after his whole team. And
Edrin Cooper had a day.
Yeah, but Tucker Kraft took a couple of hits, and he said he was glad to kind of get ready for the upcoming seasons. But I think a lot of people are still just holding on to their breath and making sure that nothing happens. But hey, at some point you got to take those hits, and I think for him, good to get them out of the way too, and not take that big first hit in the regular season. So, but yeah, you had guys coming back. You had Benjamin St-Juste who came back. Javon Bullard also came back to practice, so good to see that. Josh Jacobs did a little bit. Now, Brian Gutekunst yesterday before practice, his final presser before the 53-man roster, said that with Jacobs, we'll deal with that if that transpires, but we could, talking about maybe adding another running back. You're always going to keep 3 or 4 running backs, and I think we have enough to do that, but again, it comes down to choices and trying to figure that out. The one thing particularly at that position is elevating a guy from the practice squad. I don't want to say it's easy to do, but it's something that we've done in the past and not something we'd shy away from. So
he's going to get suspended.
You think so?
When I hear that, absolutely. I think they know it, and that's kind of why he's getting held out a little bit. I know he's got a groin injury, but I hear that, and the first thought is I think he's going to get suspended.
Why is it taking so long is the weird thing to me.
Yeah.
That's the weird thing to me. It's just, I don't know. I don't know how to take that. Some people will say, oh, that doesn't mean it's good because maybe they're building something. Some people say maybe they can't find anything. So I don't know. I really don't have a good way or the other. I'm so in the middle on this thing.
And I think this is going to be an NFL thing.
That's the thing. It could, he could be cleared from legal stuff, but the NFL may still step in and do something.
Yeah, I think he'll be fine legally, but I think the NFL will just suspend him 4 games.
Mm-hmm. Something to monitor for sure, though. But that would, I don't know. Better let Jordan Love cook then.
Yeah, well,
to open up the season. So.
Marshawn Lloyd looks pretty good, apparently. So,
yeah,
first time I've heard that.
And ever.
Since the draft.
For
sure.
Yeah. And that's, I think, again, the key word in this whole thing when it comes to Sunday's roster is initial. When that drops on Sunday night, whenever it's going to drop, because Green Bay's always the last team or one of the last teams to drop it. But when that comes out, the key word is initial. That thing could change the next day.
Yep.
That thing could change the next day with waiver claims. I don't know if they'll make any trades, but more than likely it will.
Yep.
It will change too. So if you see, that guy made it. Like, I would be surprised if Green Bay initially carries, let's say, 7 wide receivers, but then the next day they waive one of those guys because it's kind of a strategery sort of thing. We're going to keep this guy so nobody else puts a waiver claim on him, wait a couple days, release him, and then put him on our practice squad. And then they add something else like, maybe they're short in one area. Maybe they only carry 2 running backs, let's say. But they carry 7 wide receivers. And you're like, what the heck? Why are they doing that? Wait a couple days and see how it plays out. I wouldn't be surprised if we get into a situation like that. So, who are some of the players, now that we've had joint practice in the books, who are some of the players that maybe have to have a fantastic game tomorrow or have a good game tomorrow to solidify their spots? Who do you think is maybe a little bit under the spotlight? Let's go through some of those players. We'll take a quick break, and we'll talk some more Packers football coming up after these few words. Your vehicle is more than just a way to get from one place to another. It's how you get to work, how you take your kids to school, run errands, and get where you need to go. So when an accident or unexpected damage puts your vehicle out of commission, trust the team at Superior Auto Body in Eau Claire. Their experienced professionals are dedicated to quality collision repairs and dependable service, helping make the repair process as smooth as possible. Superior Auto Body in Eau Claire. When you need them, they'll get you back on the road. And we've got about 24 more hours left if you want to vote in our Superior Auto Body Team of the Week. We just posted it up on Sports Talk. The link, if you want to vote between Colfax football, Lake Holcomb football, and Fall Creek football. We have had a lot of votes so far. I can just tell you that. We've had a lot of voting. So if you want to get some last-minute votes in, again, that link is up on our Facebook page, or you could go to our website. We'll announce the winner tomorrow morning at 8:15 for our first Team of the Week, brought to you by Superior Auto Body. So, Packers-wise, I mean, there's going to be some tough decisions. I still feel like Green Bay's probably got a good idea of who's going to make this team. Is there a name, though, that maybe when you think about it, it's like, it might be a surprise kind of cut or maybe a surprise keep? Or is there a name that you probably didn't know a whole lot about at the beginning of this that you're like, dang, I'm hearing a lot of good stuff about him. Maybe he makes this team.
I think Jacob Monk's obviously one of them, where last year he wasn't good, but he's been really good this year. I really like J. Michael Sturdivant, the wide receiver out of Florida.
J. Mike, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a lot of speed. He's got pretty good hands, good catch radius. I really hope they keep him, or at least are able to retain him on the practice squad. But other than that, offensive line's got some interesting names. Mm-hmm. I am really interested to see who the running backs are, because they've had some strong camp from Damian Martinez and Pierre Strong. And, I mean, is Chris Brooks, could he be a surprise cut? With Marshawn Lloyd, coming along in the pass game, that's Chris Brooks' job. So if Marshawn Lloyd's going to take that over, you don't need two receiving backs. So I think he could be a potential name that's on the out.
Yeah, J. Mike. I was looking at his draft profile back on the draft, and they originally projected a 5 to 6, and he went undrafted. Yeah. So he's got he actually finished fourth in the athleticism score at the NFL Combine. So I mean, you're talking about 6'3", 200+ pounds. I mean, he's got the body type that you like in a football player at that position. So I'll say this. I initially scoffed at the thought of Green Bay carrying 7 wide receivers. But I truly believe I'm opening up to the idea that on their initial roster, keyword initial, that they are going to have 7, but they're not going to open up the season with 7. If that, that they're going to have 7, but they're not going to open up with 7. It's going to we're going to carry, and then a couple days later, waive them, release them, and then practice squad. Yeah. That's how I feel it's going to play out.
I think that would be fine, especially with the depth you have. I mean, Isaiah Nayer made some really good catches.
Will Shepard.
You have Will Shepard making that incredible toe-tapping catch last preseason game.
Yep.
So you've got the depth. I hope what yesterday showed is they need another tight end, because Drake Dabney cannot be our number 2 tight end.
Yeah.
And they need to go get somebody, whether by trade. I know Jonnu Smith is still in free agent. Zach Ertz is still a free agent. But you have to have a second tight end, especially for the offense that Matt LaFleur runs.
Yes, and maybe it's just one of those, because I will admit, this is one that's perplexing me more than running back. Why not going out there and getting another tight end? This is what the whole Josh Jacobs thing, They got Brooks, they got Marshawn Lloyd. I understand giving a lot of reps to Lloyd just to see what you got in that. I don't understand, because I'm still assuming Tucker's going to be kind of on a snap count to open up the season. Maybe that changes or not. I don't know. This one perplexes me a little bit, why they haven't brought somebody in now. Maybe it's those guys who are veterans that you just mentioned, the Jonnu Smith, the Zach Ertz. Maybe they're like, no, we're going to wait till after training camp because they don't want to go to training camp, and they want, they're just going to wait till after preseason and training camp is over with and then sign up with the team. We've seen players do that before. Yeah. So maybe that's part of it. Maybe Green Bay's waiting the patient game, trying to give these guys reps to see if somebody can separate themselves from the pack, or maybe waiting to see if something becomes available after cut downs. I couldn't tell you who that is off the top of my head. But I don't want to get into a situation where we've got no depth at tight end. And, yes, we've got one of the best tight ends in the league coming back and playing. That doesn't mean you still can't have depth and adequate depth at that spot. So that is one position that I think is maybe not getting enough attention towards, where I'm a little bit nervous about it.
And I think where our thoughts differ from the Packers is depth means that you have good players, and I think the Packers just almost perceive it as a lot of players. Josh Wiley and Drake Dabney, they're not starters. They're not playable people on a Sunday night game, meaningful game. They can play in the preseason, they can play in practice, but you've got to have somebody behind Tucker Kraft. And honestly, you've said it multiple times, I don't think we'll see Luke Musgrave this year.
Yeah.
Which means Drake Dabney right now is your backup tight end, which means you have to go get somebody. And maybe, like you said, they are looking at potential waiver pickups, but it is a concerning position.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was looking up Josh Wiley. I was actually surprised. He was a 5th-round pick in 2023 by the Titans. So I was like, because you didn't really hear a whole lot about. He was the first tight end selected on day 3. Okay, well, there you have it. But that was 2023. It's 2026 now, right? So, and that's it goes back to the whole trade thing when we get to like basketball or football, or even or baseball. When you get depth, I think you hear a lot of fans say, "Well, trade that person and then get a pick." Depth is not a bad thing, and I think it almost gets perceived as a negative thing when you have too much depth. Mm-hmm. And especially in a game of football where guys are probably going to get hurt and probably going to get banged up, that is the one sport that I want depth at. I want too many good players in that spot. So that's one thing I really, really hope that next week we're talking about a new addition at tight end. It doesn't... Zach Ertz is at the point in his career. Jonnu Smith is at the point in his career. They don't need to be the number one tight ends, and I think they know that. Go win a Super Bowl and go be the primary backup to a top 5 tight end in the league. Yeah. You're still going to get playing time within this offense. Hell, Mercedes Lewis is still available out there if you want a blocking tight end. Then Matt LaFleur absolutely loves that guy.
Yeah.
But I don't want to get into a situation where we're talking about, man, if they had a backup tight end, would that have made the difference? I think if we're in that spot, then there was a lot of other issues that probably went wrong, but still, I don't want to be having that as a topic.
And that's on Goody. Mm-hmm. Like, if you go into the season with one really good tight end and pretty much nobody else, that's on Goody. He's got to make a move. And maybe it is, like you said, like Aaron Donald's not going to sign until after training camp because he doesn't want to participate.
Yep.
Maybe that is something with these older tight ends, but they've got to bring in somebody.
They got to. And Smith does have a little familiarity with LaFleur back when they were with Tennessee, so there is that possibility. But, yeah, I think if there was a position where they do make a move to acquire somebody, whether it's a trade or a signing, it's got to be tight end, I feel like it's going to be tight end.
I hope so.
Running back, I know, even with Jacobs, I think they're going to go with Strong. They got Lloyd. They got Chris Brooks. I think they'd rather just go with the younger guys that they already have on their roster. Mm-hmm. And, yeah, offensive line, I don't see them doing anything. Defensive line, I think, was a nice surprise for them for a lot of guys that are playing really well so far in training camp. Corner, I don't see them making a move anymore. Maybe if somebody becomes available like a waiver.
Yeah.
The Joey Porter pipe dream is not going to be a thing. So we can close the book on that. That's just not happening. So even the Josh Sweat one, I don't see that happening. Mm-mm. I understand the reasonings for it. I get it. You can make a case for, you can make a case against. Ultimately, I don't see Green Bay. Two big things for me is, okay, you bring him on. You got him under contract for the next 3 years. What if Lucas Van Ness does play really well this year? That means bye-bye Lucas Van Ness, because you're going to have to hold on to Sweat and then Micah Parsons too. The other part is they don't have a first-round pick. I'm not saying Sweat would cost a first-round pick, but are they going to be willing to trade a second-round pick and go into that 2027 draft, which is supposed to be really good, and not have picks in the first 2 rounds?
Mm-mm.
They're not going to do that either.
Yeah, the thing I'm interested in is they spent a lot of the offseason kind of cleaning out the people who were who were upset with their roles, like the Emmanuel Wilsons, the Dontavian Wicks. If Keyshawn Nixon becomes the cornerback 3 on the first depth chart all of a sudden, and he becomes unhappy, you may have to trade him, just because he could become a cancer. And so then, do they package him for a Kool-Aid McKinstry, a Riley Moss, a DB who they've looked into already? That would be the only way I see them making a move at the defensive back position.
Yeah. I feel like it's trending that Keyshawn's going to be the second corner.
I think so too.
Yeah. And hey, he did have a good practice the other day, but do it in a game now. Do it in a regular season, right?
I mean, just tackle for all I care.
Yeah. We got more football talk coming. We got to take a quick break, though. So we'll be right back. You can send us your thoughts. Hit us up 715-830-1912. Quick break. We'll be right back in just a skosh. Football season is here. Baseball is still going strong, and that means one thing. It is the perfect time for a tailgate, whether you're firing up the grill before kickoff or gathering with friends for the big game. Make sure that you've got plenty of great food. Stop by Mike's Star Market and pick up everything that you need for your next tailgate, including the all-important brats. Football, baseball, brats, and the people you love. Hey, that's a tailgate. So head on over to Mike's Star Market, located on the west side of Eau Claire. We've got, Zach with a few texts. I'm still nervous about the running back room. Huge chance that Jacobs is going to get suspended. Very eager to see who makes the 53-man roster. And if they make any last-minute moves, they need to go get Zach Ertz. He's a veteran player. I think he would be a great addition. So I can continue to send us your thoughts if you would like. Mark says some of these guys will have to also help on special teams. How does that factor into who makes the team? I don't know the answer to that. Back in the day, it used to be a big thing. And my argument has been for the last couple of years, I think Green Bay's almost kind of gotten away from that a little bit. Maybe that's kind of the performance or lack thereof of performance on special teams. Maybe that changes this year. So, but yeah, I mean, when you look at gunners and, I think that's kind of the main thing, right? Those guys who are going to get down there. Bull Melton's been doing it. I mean, makes sense. You'd think back end wide receivers and maybe even back end corners are those guys. So I think that's going to be a big part of it too.
Yeah, Damani Jackson's got the speed to be a gunner, so I think that would be a good fit. I also think, like you said, we kind of wanted them to prioritize kind of putting starters on it. And all of a sudden, Cisse gets banged up a little bit on special teams, and everyone's like...
Yeah, I don't want Brandon Cisse on there.
Yeah.
But that goes to... Yeah.
But it's kind of like, if we want him, then we got to want him, right? Yep. And I think that's where, as fans, it's like, we want to have good special teams, but we want all the backups to play. And so I think they're making a concerted effort we're going to prioritize special teams this year.
Do you want Brandon Cisse on
I don't. Yeah. No, I didn't like that. But I'm just saying.
Yeah. No.
We say every year, we want better. No, he should not. The CB1 shouldn't be. You can put Nixon out there, put Valentine. St. Just was kind of signed for that reason.
Yep.
Cisse does not need to be out there.
Xavier McKinney does not need to be out there.
Evan Williams does not need to be out there.
No. And, yeah, I mean, it used to be a thing like if you want to make this team, you got to play special teams. That was kind of the bar. That was a set for a lot of those late rookies and undrafted. Maybe they got away from it a little bit. But, Hopper's got to be a guy I know. Tyron Hopper is a weird cat for me because, again, I think it was yesterday, Matt LaFleur said he was the guy that's improved the most. Yet I don't hear his name a whole lot from people who were at practice. And I'll admit, I mean, I saw him when I was there, but nothing was like, oh, wow, you know. So the coaching staff is saying this, but he doesn't really when, you know, if you read Rob or you read Matt or you read Ryan, whoever it is at practice every single day, his name doesn't pop up. So he is such a perplexing player for me because I don't know who to believe. And maybe it's just he's doing some solid things and it's not just, you know, popping out. But maybe those solid things are a major improvement from him. But this is a guy that was a third-round pick from a couple years ago.
Yeah, and especially as a third-round pick, he better be a decent backup. And you really haven't seen that. I know before the preseason they were talking about how he's got to take his next step this year. But I mean, he's the fourth linebacker on our roster again because he can't overtake Isaiah McDuffie. So it is interesting. He is a confusing player for sure.
Yeah. So and the thing is like, is he even going to get an opportunity? Because right now he ain't playing above Edgerrin Cooper unless Cooper's got her. Zaire Franklin, he's been impressive. I like the intensity that he brings to that group. So, I mean, and McDuffie, okay, he's a good backup. He's going to be a special teams contributor. That's kind of where he makes his forte. Are we going to see 59 making any plays this year? He's the one weird one for me where it's like, okay, you keep hearing this stuff, but I haven't seen anybody else talking about besides the coach.
Well, and even last year you look at when they, in the game against the Vikings, when they sat all their starters, or even when Cooper got injured, it wasn't Hopper taking his spot. It was Neiman or Christian Welch. So, yeah, he's an interesting player.
Yeah. And I don't know how much he's going to play tomorrow, but maybe that's just a mental note I'll have to take, see 59s out there and what exactly they're doing. You know, one other guy that I'm going to make a bold prediction right now. If I have to make a bold prediction for roster cut down, Carl Brooks gets traded. I know he's listed as a starter right now, but the guy behind him on that depth chart, that's why depth charts are dumb. Yeah. Javon Hargrave is a starter. He's going to start. Devontae Wyatt's going to start. And then this is where I think the defensive line is so tricky to figure out. Because now you're back to a 3-4, but majority is probably going to be a nickel, which means you're going to have two down linemen.
Yeah.
So that's Wyatt, that's Hargrave. You got the rookie Chris McKellen. He's going to make the team. You want a more typical nose tackle, that's Jonathan Ford. He's had a good camp.
Yeah.
So that's 4. Then you've got, you know, Stackhouse from last year. Anthony Campbell has been a big surprise in camp so far for a lot of people. The biggest question for me is how many, and then Warren Brinson, now he's dealing with a calf injury, but he was practicing really well. How many down linemen do you keep? I'm not talking the edge. I'm talking defensive tackle. I could, if there's an offer, Carl Brooks is entering the last year. So I put the chances at 30%, but I'll say bold prediction. I wouldn't be surprised if Carl Brooks gets traded.
Well, and that's kind of a guy you could flip for a low end flyer on a DB or a tight end. So that could be an interesting player to watch.
Because, I mean, Anthony Campbell, if he goes out and balls out tomorrow night, like he has been I don't know if they can get away with putting him on waivers and hoping he can stay on the practice squad. Jonathan Ford, that dude is just massive. When you see him in person, he towered over the rookie Chris McKellen. That's how big he is. And I want this team to at least carry one massive prototypical nose tackle if you're going to play 3-4. I want my Howard Green from 2010. And I think that's Jonathan Ford. So,
and they really liked Nazir Stackhouse last year.
Yeah.
So I know we haven't really heard anything about him this camp, but you know, he played in the SEC at Georgia, so he's had good offensive linemen to go up against.
Yeah. So that's going to be the interesting group for me to watch. But I'll make a bold prediction. Carl Brooks gets traded, which is completely different because there was a report early in the offseason that they might re-sign him. But maybe the play of other guys has kind of alleviated that a little bit. Yeah. And I think, again, the wild card is how many times are they going to play in nickel? Probably a lot. So you only need two down linemen. And then when Micah Parsons comes back, you're probably going to have more edge rushers out there than down D linemen. The whole Josh Sweat thing, I think, is that I know that's getting more and more and more and more out there. Here's the thing. If the Packers somehow trade for Sweat or Joey Porter Jr., would I be mad? No. I wouldn't be mad. I'm just not putting my eggs in that basket. Now, I didn't think they were going to do Micah Parsons last year either, and they went out and did it. But that, I can't see. I get the Sweat one because Jonathan Gannon ties. Looked at this last night. Sweat's numbers, he's been in the league for 8 years. He's been with Jonathan Gannon 4 years. 3 years with Philly, and then 1 year with, or was it 3 years? Something, yeah. Jonathan Gannon, regardless, 3 of his best sack years were all with Jonathan Gannon. So I get the connections. I understand that. And I get Arizona, kind of where they're at, state of franchise, talent. He probably wants out, wants to go to a contender. He just signed that massive deal last year, 4 years, $70-some million deal. I don't see it working out for Green Bay unless they could flip a Carl Brooks and not have to give up a second-round pick.
Yeah.
And maybe Arizona eating some of that money.
Yeah, there was a lot of smoke about that trade in the offseason, and I was bought in. I was almost 100% sure he was going to be a Packer. And then all the reports came out like the Cardinals aren't trading him. So it's interesting that they've kind of like rekindled them.
Yeah.
But I just don't see the Packers making that move, especially with limited draft capital and all these edge rushers that supposedly they're pretty high on.
Well, and that's the other part. I know fans aren't going to like this, but I think it's part of it. They are going to have to see what they have with Barron Sorrell, Colin Oliver, maybe even a Brenton Cox Jr., maybe even a Dennis Sutton. You know, it's opportunity.
I mean, even a Lucas Van Ness.
Well, and that's the other part. Here is you trade for Sweat. It doesn't matter what Lucas Van Ness does this year. He ain't staying around because you can't afford Van Ness, Micah, and then Josh Sweat. You're not going to trade for Josh Sweat and then release him after 1 year and take an $11 million dead cap hit. Mm-hmm. That ain't going to work. Last year, it kind of worked out timing-wise when you think about it. Because I know some people are like, well, they added Micah and they had Lucas Van Ness and Rashawn Gary. I get it. But at the same time, they were able to move on from Rashawn Gary and not take as much of a dead cap hit either.
And they're very different players, Rashawn Gary and Lucas Van Ness. Lucas Van Ness is entering his prime, or is in his prime. Rashawn Gary's past.
And, yeah, Gary was in that contract already. Lucas is still on that. Yeah, I get the comparisons. I get it. I wouldn't be mad. I don't see it happening. That's why I have low expectations of that.
I would be shocked.
Yeah. All right, let's take our final break for this hour. We'll wrap up the second hour, head into halftime. We'll be right back in just a couple minutes. When you're looking for your next vehicle, choose a dealership that knows and cares about the community it serves. Toyson Ford in Chippewa Falls is proud to be locally owned and operated, providing hometown service and a better buying experience for drivers throughout the Chippewa Valley. Whether you're looking for a new Ford, a quality pre-owned vehicle, or trusted service for the vehicle that you already own, the team at Toyson Ford is there to help. Experience the difference of shopping local. Toyson Ford in Chippewa Falls, your hometown Ford dealer. Got about 10 minutes left to the top. So, again, if you have any questions for Mr. Boakes, Jake Boakes, Conservation Warden, State of Wisconsin, you got early goose teal season coming up next week already, September. Calendar turns, getting close to bow season. So if you have any questions, please text those on over to the Shoe Doctors bullpen line at 715-830-1912. All right. So let me ask you the question that I threw out last night there, Mr. Intern. With everything that's going on in the college world, has it dampened your excitement for college football a bit?
Not me.
Not you?
No, because I think we're still going to get really good football, and I still think, and I know now they signed a rule that those players can't play, but
does that go in effect for this year though? For
I'm
like
not
LSU?
Sure. I think it was intended to, but the players are going to take it to court, and if they go to a Louisiana judge, you know what's going to happen. So they're going to probably end up playing. But I really think we're still going to get really good football, and even with the additions that LSU made, I don't think that they're the team to beat. And so the Big Ten's not going to add any players because I really do believe that they don't like that. The rest of the SEC probably won't add any players because of the new rules that just got passed. Like, the punishment, if you add a player now, your head coach could get suspended half the season.
Yeah.
So
and 50% of your budget, too, could be taken away.
I don't think any other players are going to join those, whatever. I think 4 players are going to play. But I am really excited for this college season because I really think there's a lot of parity. And so that really doesn't change just because these players joined LSU.
I think hearing that the CBS report from yesterday that it was LSU and kind of Lane Kiffin that was nudging these players to do lawsuits and all that, something's got to be done with Lane Kiffin. Then.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Something's got to be done with that guy. Because if that is true, and that's the case, and they find out that, okay, that can't happen. The conference has to step in. NCAA has to step in. Yep, there's going to be more court stuff. I think that's what annoys me the most and is kind of dampening this season. I don't want sports to always have to go to court.
Yeah.
Like, really? Yeah. Like, do we have to? Like, so that does damper it a bit for me. But I agree with you. Like, I don't think LSU is going to be they're going to be a good team, but are they going to be a team that's going to win it all? Right now, I'd probably not pick them to do that.
And I know they got Daquan Wright, the tight end. They have a better tight end in Trey'Dez Green. So Daquan Wright's their second best tight end, even if he joins. So it's not like they got a number one option, and I get he's good, but it's not a move that puts them over the top.
Yeah, it's just I don't know. Like, it's a weird situation. Do you like what for me, I think the biggest thing is, and I know the NBA has a thing where you can go through the draft process, and I like that. I like that the NBA, you could go through a draft process, kind of get some feedback, and go that. I think, though, once you enter a draft, and once you enter an NFL training camp, and once you sign a NFL contract, because that's what these guys did, once you sign that, you can't go back to college.
Yeah. So do you think that they should be allowed to do the combine and then come back?
Yeah. It'd be like the NBA draft process. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Go for that. And, but as soon as you participate and you sign on the dotted line for an NFL contract, to me, that is where that's the line.
Yep.
That's you practiced, you signed that professional contract. That's the line.
And they're going to go argue that they didn't know they had an extra year of eligibility because it did get extended after they signed, but that's still no reason. And just like R.J. Lewis, he's been in the NBA for 2 years and he's trying to go back to college basketball. So, once you sign it, your college career should be over.
Yeah. So, but we'll see how it all kind of plays out here. But it does. I think for some people it does damper it a bit. I know a lot of people on the Facebook one when we posted it, they said it does damper it for them. But
I think it's concerning for future years.
I think that's a good way to put it.
I don't think it's going to hurt it this year, but I could see it hurting them several years down.
Yep. Yeah. Lane Kiffin, always finding ways, right, to kind of sneak in.
I hope
Lane Kiffin's such a weird guy when you think about how he first got on the scene, right? Gets hired as the Raiders head coach because he was like USC's recruiting like offensive guy, quarterback guy. It's like, what is Al Davis doing?
Yeah.
And then he's the son of Monty Kiffin, who was a great defensive-minded coach, defensive coordinator, and then just the career path of Lane Kiffin since then has just been something. So, is LSU the evil empire of college sports right now?
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure. With Will Wade at college basketball.
Even Kim Malarkey at LSU women's basketball.
Yeah,
so
yes, very much so.
They are the evil empire for sure. So, all right, just a few minutes left to the top of the hour. Get your 3 up, 3 downs. A lot of you saying college football is included in your 3 downs. So if you want, you can continue to send those on over. But we'll do some 3 ups and 3 downs coming up in the next hour. We'll get back to some Brewers talk. Kind of missed it, but yeah, they're right. Brewers did post after their win last night. Winning record secured. Yeah, they can't finish any lower than 82-80. Hopefully that's not the case and they don't lose every single game going forward, but there you have it. So we'll preview tonight's Game 3 with Jacob Mizorowski on the mound. Andrew Fitwood. Did he hit another homer?
He did, 39.
Wow. Wow. 39 home runs. So, all right. We'll talk some more Brewers coming up in the next hour. But second to final call for any questions for Mr. Bulks that you may have in the next hour at the bottom of the hour. So, but Brewers tonight, 6:10 first pitch with the Miz on the mound, looking to secure that series win before the Brewers return home. Then they got a weekend series with the Texas Rangers. And I know we're all kind of focused on Monday's 4-game series with the Chicago Cubs heading down to Wrigley for a 4-game series. Don't overlook the Rangers, though, because, well, I mean, they're kind of a desperate team and trying to secure a playoff spot in that interesting American League wild card chase or AL West or whatever you look
word
at.
For it.
Yeah, it's not great, but it's probably going to happen. Can you imagine a losing team or a team with a losing record is going to get in the postseason and they might even win a playoff series? That's the 7-10 equivalent of an NFL team.
That's baseball.
Mm-hmm. Yep. We'll talk some more baseball coming up in the next hour as we take a look ahead to Game 3 tonight. We'll get back to a little Packers talk coming up a little bit later on. But if you have any bold predictions, we just kind of went through a couple of them. But if you have any bold predictions for Cutdown Day, which is Sunday, they got to get their initial 53-man rosters set by 6 p.m. on Sunday. If you have any bold predictions that you just want to have some fun and throw it out there, let us know. All right, we're open for that. What's the position group that maybe you are most curious, most interested to kind of follow in the final preseason game tomorrow? No starters tomorrow. Well, maybe a couple here and there, but the primary starters will not be playing, it sounds like. So no Jordan Love, which I'm okay with, right?
Yes.
You got a couple games in. You got the joint practice in. He's on to Minnesota. Jordan Love on to Minnesota. A lot of the primary guys, heck, even Brandon Cisse on to Minnesota, right? He don't need to go out there and play. Xavier McKinney, Evan Williams, on to Minnesota. Those guys, even Tucker Kraft, on to Minnesota. So, all right. Halftime. We'll be back after these news.